Reliable Chevrolet and GMC. What do we do? 872-2337, or check us out on our website at reliablegmc.com, or best, just come visit us right here at 14th Lawrence Street in downtown Selma. At Reliable, where they truly have it all.
In today's world, repairing your vehicle to showroom condition demands cutting-edge technology. That's what you get at the all-new George's Paint and Body Shop in Selma. After tornado damage to reconstruction, George's has the latest advanced technology, especially designed for today's multi-tech vehicles. The Bosch calibration system restores safety features like lane departure and collision sensors. The two new Chief Frame machines and computer laser measuring system delivers pinpoint accuracy down to the millimeter. And the two new downdraft paint booth units provide perfect quality refinishing. And with the reconstruction comes a much larger facility designed for an increased capacity and quicker turnaround time. George's deals directly with your insurance company, but they work for you. Call to schedule your estimate and repairs today. See the pros, Eric and Scooter Hoggett at George's Paint and Body Shop, 1215 J.L. Chestnut Jr. Boulevard, or call 334-872-1441. The all-new George's Paint and Body Shop has reopened in Selma. By George.
Good morning, I'm Jasmine Williams with WSFA News. Here's what's happening this Wednesday. The longest government shutdown in U.S. history could be coming to an end. The Senate voted on a funding package, giving its final approval to a bill that funds the government through the end of January. From here, it now heads to the House. The House could meet and vote on this as early as today. Many people are mourning today in our state after an Alabama student died near campus. She was hit by a car. It happened over the weekend, right before the University of Alabama versus LSU game. She was hit near Jack Warner Parkway and Queen City Avenue. Officials identified the victim as 19-year-old Megan Giles from Jackson's Gap in Tallapoosa County. Veterans Day serves as a yearly reminder to thank and honor all of our service members, and many people did just that in our area. In Montgomery, bands and floats and different organizations paraded down historic Dexter Avenue in honor of Veterans Day. I'm Jasmine Williams, and these are your morning headlines.
1490 WHBB. Good morning on this Wednesday morning, and we are back on YouTube, and we'll start the speech that was done yesterday by Mr. Jim Lawrence in just a moment. Viewpoint, you're on the air.
Hello, buddy. How you doing this morning?
Yes, sir. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day. Randy, you know, when they passed Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Act, they did not make it permanent because they knew the prices were going to go up. And they knew it was not sustainable. So that's where we are. These politicians spend this money to buy votes. So now you lull people into the false sense of security that the government's going to provide you health care, knowing that the government can't afford it. And they keep passing the buck. That's the reason we're 38 trillion in debt. I was watching something about the food stamps. If you got money to pay for hair extensions and makeup and tattoos and piercings and fingernails and everything else, and you are requiring the government to feed your children, something wrong. Where's the personal responsibility? That if you have a child, it's your responsibility to feed them. It's not it's not my responsibility. It's not my responsibility to provide you health care. I don't understand. We've taken away personal responsibility, and now you've got generations that have been brought up on these programs, and they think it's a right. Rights are given by God. They're not given by the government. And I believe we need to help people, but I can't fathom that. I can't stomach the fact that we're going to help people to sit on their rear end and do nothing except hold out their hands.
Well, it's all BS. It's all smoke and mirrors. What I feel for, and I'm concerned about people who buy into these these narratives, and as you have pointed out, don't think about all the big picture. They already know that it is complicated and almost impossible to get this deal done right, but yet and still they use it because they're looking at power and money and how they're going to control Congress, the Senate, and the White House. That's all they're worried about, in my opinion.
And they just try to use control and cost us billions of dollars in this country being shut down. All the pain and suffering, all because they wanted to use it as leverage. And they even use that language. And people are so, I don't want to call them dumb. No,
gullible. We're buying it. We're buying into it. Because we keep putting the same folk back in office.
I mean, they keep calling it the Trump tax, he's against people health care, and they name it the Schumer shutdown, and they're going to blame Schumer for all of it, when every one of them voted to shut it down. Not a Democrat up until, well, I guess.
Till these 8 decided to break with the ranks.
Yeah.
But they're not, most of them aren't running again, with the exception of Fetterman. And, you know.
Mad about it, Randy. Those 8, but guess what? They're not mad about it. It was all planned. It was behind the back doors. They know who was going to vote for it to stop it. Tricks.
Yeah. The dirty tricks department is alive and well.
Buddy, we bought right ticket, didn't we? We didn't even get popcorn. You're going to have some fun today.
Yeah, I'll try to. Thank you so much. Yeah, you know, and it's a circus, and I guess for me, I say it's an insult to my intelligence, and it should be to the average voter an insult to our intelligence that they think that we're going to buy into, not understanding that this is a very complicated issue, and that the insurance companies and the physicians and the medical profession and the pharmaceutical companies, they're the ones that have to sit down and work this thing out. Viewpoint, you're on the air. Good morning.
I don't know what is wrong with y'all. It's mainly just with everybody that's with assistance and coming from the government or having money, but they just living up to government time. People really need this stuff. And where's the God in that? Well, you shouldn't have just blaming these people for not having this, that, and all that. And everything in this country is just messed up. Like I told you before, every other industrialized country, pretty much every other industrialized country in this world, they're free health care to their citizens. But people going bankrupt from medical care and this and that and student loans and all that stuff. And all that stuff is free in other countries. But you see, they just blaming the poor people. Where rich people getting richer and richer and richer. You only have nothing to say about that. Donald Trump, he made $1 billion since he's been in office. I mean, what is the humanity in America these days?
I don't know. I've got some other folks trying to get through. Let's ask Congress that question. Viewpoint, you're on the air. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I've been on the weather.
Oh, sorry to hear it. This is some crazy weather.
Right.
This is pneumonia weather.
Sure is. I think Caroline Kennedy's son gonna be running.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad to see that. I think he might usher in a breath of fresh air. I hope.
Yeah, that's hoping might be our president.
I wouldn't be surprised, but that's why I hate to say it, but most of the Kennedys get killed some strange way. When especially John Kennedy Jr. My goodness, he had it, and so. But then that plane crash did him, and I was crushed by that too.
Right. Well, hope and pray that he will one day become our president with some new faces in.
Well, I hope he has the heart that his grandfather had, and the mind that his grandfather had.
What was that?
That old school democracy, the old school Democratic Party that was for the people. John F. Kennedy, he gave his life, and him and his brother Robert Kennedy, they were so popular with poor people until when they died, people lined the streets when their bodies came through on the train. And I remember coming up, you could walk into almost any home, and you would see the pictures of Kennedy, King, and Kennedy, and Jesus Christ, all on the same mound. Yes, ma'am. But you have to earn. Respect has to be earned. But I suspect he's got the background, no doubt about that. And he's a Democrat. Put it down for the record that Randy Williams said, "Yeah, I'd like to see the grandson of John F. Kennedy, a Democrat, be successful." Right. Okay. Thank you so much. Let me see now. Now the other thing is, because one of the things that I found really interesting on yesterday was the comments that Mr. Lawrence made when he started. He said the bottom line, about Selma's history and its role in helping guarantee the right to vote, and the beauty of our Constitution and our form of government to correct wrongs. Now, what did the foot soldiers march across the Evan Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday and the march from Selma to Montgomery to get the right to vote, or to get the right to control Congress, the White House, and the Senate? I wonder which one it was. It depends on who you listen to, huh? This is Mr. Lawrence, Mr. Jim Lawrence of Prattville, in his speech on yesterday.
I'm a shorty. Mark Boswell invited me here today. Also, Jonathan, thank you so much for being a great host.
We're having some technical difficulties. I don't know what's happening this morning, but what I'll do first is go ahead and take this commercial break and see if I can get this audio straight. I'll be back with more right after these messages.
As GE and hot point appliances on the floor ready for you to come see. There's mattresses by Sealy, Ashley, and Capital. Gorgeous furniture for every room in your home, too. Living room, dining room, and some one-of-a-kind pieces. Gray's Furniture on Broad has been serving this area in the same location for over 60 years. Miss Margaret and Miss Lisa would be delighted for you to stop by. Open 9:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, 10 to 3 on Saturday. Gray's on Broad. Furniture so nice to come home to. Meadows Tire and Automotive is your undercar specialist. From the latest and best tire technology to the services required to keep your vehicle running great, we can get you out on the road quick and at an affordable price. See us at 2897 Citizen Parkway on Selma. Better service, quality, selection, and more. We got them. Come see them. Our deals you won't believe them. Meadows Tire and Automotive. Call or text us at 324-875-7276. Check us out online at meadowstire.com.
Congratulations to Peak Insurance, recently voted best insurance agency in the Summertime Journal Reader's Choice Award. And a big round of applause for Lauren Adams, named Best Customer Service Representative. And for Jason, voted best insurance agent. We want to take a moment to say something very important. Thank you. Thank you to our local customers. Continue to trust us.
On that note, U.S. Space Force on December the 20th, 2019, was established, and they focus on protecting and defending United States interest in space through three core functions: ensuring space security, managing global mission operations, and providing assured space.
years. So once again, from all of us here at the
Stand to be
thank you for your loyalty and thank you for your
Great,
confidence.
great
Stop by and
report,
see us
all
at
of those.
2003 Broad Street in Selma.
For the other
Today or visit
branches,
peakinsurance.com. Peak
we
coverage,
included.
service.
Please join us as we play your service song in
1490.
the Armed Forces Band. That means when those armies go rolling along, you Army folks, you better stand up and say hurrah,
Right, no
okay?
extra charge for extra topping. And yes, Dave's also makes sell Hunt Brothers wings too. Both are delicious. Call the store at 334-431-5267 and place your order, and they'll bring it out to you. Or have them make it like you want it while you're shopping in the store. Hunt Brothers Pizza now at Dave's Market, Highway 22, Valley Grant. If you're considering home renovation, restoration, or construction of a brand new home from the foundation up, it's very important that you choose the right contractor from the start. That's why you should contact Steve Johnson at Renovation Plus. Renovation Plus specializes in all things home repair, paint, and remodel. 1939. Steve Johnson at Renovation Plus, licensed, bonded, and insured. Listen to this Renovation Plus customer.
This is Sandra at Commercial Realty. He works very well with his client. If he keeps it going to be there, he's going to be there. But excellent work. And he also is more than just a carpenter. He's more a craftsman.
Steve at Renovation Plus will respect your home, helping you clean that need with minimal service during construction. Call Steve at Renovation Plus, 334-412-1939.
Want to cooperate, but that's okay. There's always more than one way to skin a cat. And so, well, this morning at least, I'm prepared for either way. And so, what I'll do is play the audio, which is fine for radio in terms of YouTube. Our YouTube audience will have to bear with me, and we will listen together on YouTube as well. You won't have a picture of Mr. Lawrence, but you will still be able to hear him clearly in terms of his message on yesterday. And again, I must not just congratulate, but I thought it was good to see a good full crowd at Memorial Stadium on yesterday. Very diverse group. There was a time when you didn't have all you saw was just a few, not a handful. It was always full, but it was either 90% white, or no women or no men. That was not the case on yesterday. It was diverse. I saw a number of different ethnic groups represented, all who have served the armed services. Our mayor was there, Mr. Mayor Johnny Moss III. State Representative Prince Chestnut and his wife and children were there on yesterday. But that being said, let me go ahead and let's listen to Mr. Jim Lawrence of Prattville and to see what he had to say on yesterday.
I'm a shorty. Let me thank Mark Boswell that invited me here today. Also, Jonathan, thank you so much for being a great host. It's great to be in Selma, a town with such a history of advocating correcting past wrongs to ensure all Americans have equal opportunities to vote, to lead, to grow, to serve, to share in our country's riches, and today to honor our military heroes. To talk about those I consider American heroes is a real honor. It's my pleasure today to meet the new mayor, Johnny Moss. I don't know if Mayor Perkins came, the one who was here. I want to recognize James Hall. I got here a little early and I went down to Jack's and I met this gentleman that was Army there, and we had a nice conversation. James, did you make it? He said he was going to be here. But anyway, he was in Vietnam, so it's a new acquaintance. Veterans Day has a long history. It originated at the end of World War I and was first termed Armistice Day. It was to be celebrated at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And it was termed the Great War, the war to make the world safe for democracy, or the war to end all wars. President Wilson said that. Did it end all the wars? I don't think so. We've had lots of them since then. But thanks to a fellow from Birmingham named Raymond Weeks, who in the late 40s proposed to General Eisenhower that it be changed to Veterans Day. So when Eisenhower became president in 1954, he signed legislation to make it Veterans Day that we now celebrate. You might ask, why honor veterans? And I boiled it down to a simple answer in my mind. They do things that others can't do, or they choose not to do. We have an all-volunteer force these days, and surprisingly, it's only about 0.5% of Americans that ever serve in a uniform. Veterans put themselves in harm's way. They take risk with their very lives. They know they can give everything. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Any country that does not honor its heroes will not long endure." A popular definition of a veteran is one who writes a blank check made out to the United States for an amount up to and including one's very life. That's the ultimate liability. A willingness to give one's all is a trait of a military veteran that wears a uniform. One of my favorite Bible verses, John 15:13, reads, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man would lay down his life for others." And as far as I'm concerned, veterans are to be applauded as written in another Bible verse I like. It's Matthew 5:13-14. "Ye are the salt of the earth and a light unto the world." A veteran's health risk is not always from an enemy bullet or an explosive, an IED. Several of you may have served in Vietnam. You know that the infantryman from Vietnam had other burdens. During the war, Pulitzer Prize winning author Tim O'Brien wrote about those burdens in a New York Times book of the century that was titled "The Things They Carried." And he wrote that the infantryman carried pictures of his girlfriends and moms and love letters and radios and M79 grenade launchers and M60 machine guns, but they carried a lot of psychological burdens. They carried all the emotional baggage of men who might die at any moment. Grief and terror and love and longing and intangibles and shameful memories of cowardice, some experience that, an instinct to freeze or hide. They carried their reputations, and their greatest fear, which was the fear of blushing. Some came home with nightmares or PTSD, and sadly, the latest figures I've heard are that we lose about 20 veterans a day to suicide. It's a sad thing. An African-American soldier from my hometown named Lester Brannon was an Army quartermaster with a salvage outfit in Vietnam. They loaded out damaged equipment each day. Now, Lester was highly decorated for saving his fellow soldiers' lives. He positioned a forklift to absorb all the bullets from a Viet Cong attack. He was a volunteer who did his duty. But then he experienced some uncomfortable things upon returning home. He came home through Seattle, and Lester had the misfortune of telling the cab driver that he was a returning Vietnam vet. The cab driver stopped the car and put him out. What a disgrace. My brother-in-law came back from Vietnam, and he told me stories of being told to remove his Air Force uniform because it was hazardous coming back through the West Coast. That's a shame, and we hope we don't have that. I know America is correcting that now. Veterans are from all walks of life. Some of them came off sawmills. Some were store clerks. Some picked cotton, like yours truly. Or they stacked peanuts, like yours truly. Or pulled corn, or pulled stripped cane to take to the syrup mill. You might identify with that. Some people may. Some World War II veterans were actors, such as Clark Gable or Jimmy Stewart. I'm sure you've probably seen a Jimmy Stewart film every now and then. Paul Newman, the heartthrob of American women, was a radio man, a rear gunner on a Navy torpedo plane that was supposed to operate on the USS Bunker Hill. Well, he lucked out. His pilot had an ear infection, and Newman never landed on the Bunker Hill. And that ship was attacked by kamikazes in 1945, killing 352 sailors. One of the fatalities was a seaman named James Arrell Schofield from my hometown. And he was wrapped in a flag and given a sea burial on May 12th, the next day, one of the 352. Some of you follow sports. Some of our heroes were sports heroes. A fellow named Ted Williams, Boston Red Sox, the great baseball slugger, served in World War II, and he was a fighter pilot in the Korean War. Williams hit 521 home runs despite serving more than 5 years in a Marine uniform. Can you imagine how many he would have hit in that other 5 years? Some people say he would have probably beat Babe Ruth's record. It would have been interesting to see. But he felt like being in the Marines was very important. Another fellow that I came to admire, I'm an Alabama fan, I have to tell you, and I used to watch him on Sunday afternoons with a fellow named Carl on the replays, but his name was Ralph Shug Jordan. If you look on this stadium, you see his name. He's from right here in Selma, Alabama. One that ultimately became head football coach at Auburn University, my arch rival. He was an Army combat engineer during the D-Day invasion at Normandy. In June of '44, he was wounded on the beach. He sat down and hid and lit up a cigarette until the medic could come and get him. Shug Jordan served not only in the European theater, a lot of people don't know this, but he was sent to the Pacific to fight. So he fought in both theaters in World War II. And despite being wounded, he survived, and he led Auburn to a football national championship in 1957. And a fellow from my hometown was a tackle on that. His name was Dan Presley, and I'm glad to look at Dan's championship ring one time. Now, many veterans from this area had unique wartime experiences. Lieutenant Thomas Dwight Teal was a quarterback on my hometown's 1942 football team. He volunteered in World War II as a fighter pilot in the P-47 Thunderbolt. On D-Day, Teal flew an amazing 6 sorties back and forth across the English Channel to attack targets in France. What's even more amazing is Dwight Teal was 19 years old. Any of you 19-year-olds here? Could you fly 6 sorties in a P-47 Thunderbolt? That's phenomenal. You got to be about 24 years old right now just to become a fighter pilot in the United States Air Force. Anyway, Teal died when he was shot down in France in August, and he's buried in Colleville's Deshure Cemetery overlooking Normandy Beach. His parents, back in Op, Howard and Tula Teal, they offered to bring him home after the war, and they said no. Leave him in the cemetery with his fellow soldiers and airmen. Army Corporal Charles Saunders, a hero of mine, he was an end on that same football team. He was a military policeman. He fought in the Battle of the Bulge. And after the war, he guarded Adolf Hitler's #2 Nazi, Hermann Goering, the head of the German Luftwaffe. during the Nuremberg trials. When General Charles de Gaulle rode triumphantly back into Paris after Hitler's troops were pushed out, Charles Saunders was one of 25 elite American policemen selected as honor guards. And we did an interview with Charles Saunders, and we taped it, and we sent it to the Library of Congress. And I asked Charles, I said, how were you considered elite? And he said, young man, I had a high school education, so I was elite. He said, most of these young boys didn't have one. They dropped out to work on the farm.
Well, she's
Anyway,
doing a lot of speaking engagements.
post-war, Charles got a degree in education, and he taught school, and he ultimately became a principal at 4 different schools. His first principalship was at a school called Parish High School in Selma, Alabama. And he was also the first headmaster of Morgan Academy, which is somewhere around here. He later was principal at Central of Phoenix City, and then he was principal of Charles Henderson High School in Troy. Now, when he was in Troy, there was a reluctance to integrate the schools. And Charles worked with Judge Frank Johnson of Montgomery, and he worked with the citizenship of Troy, and they had a smooth transition to integrate the schools of Troy, thanks to my friend Charles Saunders.
I'll tell her. Okay, yeah.
I have a special forces friend, Jim,
Yes, sir.
right here. Jim Phillips. He's from our church.
That's what it's all about.
He's also from Yonkers, New York. Jim drove down here this morning from Yonkers. Do y'all believe that? I'm known to tell a little fib every now and then. No, but he really is from Yonkers, New York, and he's one of 10 children. And he's a special case. Jim spent 25 years duty as a Green Beret. He had 4 combat tours in Vietnam. I don't know anybody that went to Vietnam 4 times and survived it. He was in 4 different Special Forces groups. He was a medic. He attended to sick and wounded. He even delivered babies. And let me tell you about one. On one occasion, he was working out in the boonies with these very primitive people called the Montagnards at Doc Peck, Vietnam. And on one occasion, he delivered a baby that was born breech. And it was such a trauma that the mother died. Now, the Montagnard custom was to dig the grave and take the mother and lay her on her back, and then even if the baby survived, which in this case it did, they would take the baby and lay it face down on the chest of the mother, and then they'd start putting the dirt in. And Jim observed this. Now this man's a warrior, but he has a heart too. And he could not accept that. He had a silver dollar in his pocket, a coin he's not supposed to have, but he had one. And with some of his fellow soldiers, he asked them if they would donate to buy that baby's life. And they did, and they made up. If I recall, around $35. Jim talked to the father, and in the art of the deal, he bought that baby, and he took it, absolutely, and he took it to an orphanage. And if you don't believe me, there was a young Vietnamese girl there that day that witnessed that, and she has a nail salon in Montgomery, Alabama, and you can go ask her. It's an amazing story. But this is a warrior, and that's what our American soldiers and sailors and airmen are, and Marines. They'll fight you to the death, but they also have a heart. They have a heart. Our veterans do those type things. just like Jim Phillips. Samuel Marlin Hamilton was born near Andalusia down in Covenant County. He was a B-24 pilot whose crew departed Italy and was shot down on their 8th mission. Marlin became a POW in Stalag 1, and upon release, he brought the camp key home. He got it from the Germans. Big old key, the old style thing, and he took it over to Maxwell Air Force Base and put it on display, along with his uniform. He was in that camp with others like ace pilot Hub Simpke, Bob Hoover, who became America's greatest acrobatic pilot, a stunt pilot. And there was a bombardier there from off of B-17s. His name was Bernard Barker, and he made his way through life by being famous as a Watergate burglar. Anyway, upon return home, Hamilton ran an insurance business, and he worked as a veterans coordinator, and he was a scoutmaster, and he was in the Lions Club, and he worked to beautify his hometown, and he taught our veterans math, everything you can think of. That's what our veterans do.
And we're about to run out of time. If I had not had the technical difficulties, we could have heard all of the speech. It's about 30 minutes, 12 minutes left. I'll play the rest of it on tomorrow because he does say some really important things about veterans. Also, yesterday, there were some council people that were in attendance. The new council person, Councilwoman Ashley Urban from Ward 6, Councilwoman Janie Thomas, Ward 7, and Councilman Clay Carmichael, Ward 3. I had neglected to mention that they too were present on yesterday. And I think it's Post 20, the American Legion Post 20, if I'm not mistaken, is who sponsored yesterday's Veterans Day program. And so I'd like to acknowledge these organizations, the American Legion and, Veterans Day and Memorial Day. There's a lot that really needs to be said about veterans and those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. And a lot of them are from Alabama and a lot of them from Dallas County. And as I have mentioned before, and I think it probably came out, I think about 2 weeks ago, there was another story about Mac Ross, who was born in Dallas County, born in Selma, my second cousin. He was the first commander of the Tuskegee Airmen, lieutenant commander, the youngest lieutenant, the youngest officer at the time. And he was one of the 5 original Tuskegee Airmen that graduated in West Virginia. And then they went to Tuskegee. Interesting enough, the date that they graduate is March 7th, 1940, 1941. March 7th is a significant, interesting day. And there's a couple of other things I'm finding out that's happened on March 7th before Bloody Sunday. But anyway, so they're finally beginning to talk a little bit more about Mac Ross. He died, though, in the Italian theater. After 50-some successful missions, he was shot down on a mission, and he's buried in Italy. And so the Hollywood refused to pay royalties to his family. And that's why you don't hear his name mentioned in a lot of the movies, because they refused to pay royalties. Liberal Hollywood, right? Unprejudiced, colorblind Hollywood. Right. Yeah. So, and that's why I'm saying, yeah. So the same kind of stuff that goes on as we're watching this so-called debate over healthcare. And I say so-called because every person that's been involved in any high-level negotiation and anybody that's been exposed to business and negotiations that understands how this thing works know that this is not an easy fix. But you've got folks who are going to who want to politicize it, and like I heard the transportation Secretary Duff say, he says, "Look, you know, playing around with air safety, that's not the thing to politicize, because you're dealing with people's lives. But who really cares? You know, that's why I say don't insult my intelligence." But anyway, you have yourself a safe and enjoyable day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, the good Lord willing. Stay tuned for Fox News coming up next on WHBB Selma. It is Wednesday, November the 12th. Have a good day. Oh, it's 9 o'clock.
This might be the last day of the government shutdown. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. We're very optimistic.